Good morning, Gemar Chasima Tova. Welcome to Tufshin Pei Vav. It's Tom Gedaliah, right after Shoshana, and um, it was a powerful one yesterday, past 2 days. Absolutely powerful. Um, okay, today we're jumping into Perek Zion, the last Perek of Demai. Tomorrow we're starting Kilayim. And today's share sponsored the Lila Nishmas Aaron Nachman ben Simcha Cohen, Yeshua Mordechai ben Shefs, Lebracha Sar Bas Shmuel Leib, and B'yam Moshe ben Yosef. May the Nishmas have an Aliyah. And for Shlema for Ad Sar Bas Leib, so Shar Chole Yisrael. Amen. Um, okay, so today we're going to talk about separating Meister on Shabbos, even from the Mai. You're not allowed to separate Maestros on Shabbos. Um, the Ma you can do Ben Hashmashos, as we spoke about in the past, but you cannot do it on Shabbos. So, what we're going to talk about? What do you do if someone is not able to be Mafresh Meiser of the Ma before Shabbos? Because he doesn't have it yet. Um, so what does it do? So here we go. Mishnah Aleph. Hamazmin es chaveru sheyachol es lo v'hu eno ma'amino ala maisros. Okay, if someone invites his friend before Shabbos, eat with him on Shabbos, and the guest does not trust his host regarding Meiser, he doesn't want to insult him by refusing to eat with him, so he may do the following. Oh, memory Erev Shabbos. The guest should say in Erev Shabbos, Mash ani asa the harfish machar, part of the food, 1/100th of it, which I will separate tomorrow from the food that I am served at the Shabbos meal. Hooray, Meiser. You see, I designate as part of the Meiser Rishon for the food. Okay, so the Shar Meiser Samachlo, and the rest of the Meiser Rishon, another 9/100th or 9% of the food is designated next to it. So a total of 1/10, 10% of the food that will be served tomorrow is not designated in advance as Maaser Rishon. So the 1% is for Chumas Maaser, and the 9% is for Maaser Rishon. Um, okay, so let's go. Okay, so now there's 3 steps to this. There's designating the Maaser, there's being Mafresh Maaser, and then there's giving the Maaser to where we're supposed to go. Okay, the part that is Asr on Shabbos is designated, is calling it by its name. You can once the designation has been made, then you can separate. You can be mafresh it. So as long as he called it before Shabbos that this piece is going to be for A, this piece is going to be for B, then Shabbos to go ahead and actually remove pieces A and B, that would be fine. And then whether it's to give it to anybody is a different story. This is that 1% which I first made part of the Maaser Rishon is hereby made into Chumas Maaser for the Maaser Rishon, because the Chumas Maaser has to be given on top of the Maaser. It's really supposed to be given by the Levi, and so here you have this dude doing it. The Maaser Sheni B'Sfono or B'Dromo. Finally, he says that the Maaser Sheni for the food is designated on the northern side of that food that I will be served, or its southern side. So if he has his plate, so you're saying that the Maaser Sheni is going to be on the north side of the plate or the southern side? Well, I guess it depends on what he's eating. You know, um, I mean, I'm a, I mean, we're still talking about like grain or fruits or vegetables. You're not getting Maaser Sheni on chickens and everything. So if you have a plate of cholent, kugel, and kishka, maybe he has to give Jewish Maaser on the kugel or the kishka because it's had flour in it. Because consult the local Orthodox rabbi in Eretz Yisrael for instructions how to deal with this properly. And it is hereby redeemed unto the coins that I have set aside for this purpose. So by making this declaration before Shabbos, all of the necessary meisters have been designated in advance for the Demai, the guest will be served on Shabbos. On Shabbos, the guest takes 1% of his portion, sets it aside as Chumas Maaser of the Demai, then eats the remainder of the food without concern. Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, I guess I'm kind of baffled that like he's not worried about the kashrus of the food. He's more worried about the Chumas Maaser of the food. Like, does he trust his friend enough? The food is kosher, like Basar Chalav or Bishul Shabbos. That he has no problem with this guy. The only problem is whether food is nice or not. Like, I'm not like that's very interesting. I don't know what the answer is on that. Okay, so now we're going to continuing with Mishnah Beis is the continuation of Mishnah Aleph that the Mishnah adds in another law. Mozgalos hakos, when they pour a cup of wine on Shabbos for the guest, Omer, he says, Mash ani asti l'shayim b'shulei hakos. He repeats his declaration that he said before Shabbos. That which I will leave at the bottom of the cup, the 1% of the wine, Harehu Maaser. It's hereby designated as the Maaser of the wine I'm about to drink. The Shar Maaser, some of them. And the rest of the Maaser Rishon, the other 9%, is designated next to it at the bottom of the cup. So he's leaving over 10% of the cup to take care of Chumas Maaser and Maaser Rishon. Zeh she'asisi Maaser, asoy Chumas Maaser left. He then says that 1% which I first made Maaser Rishon is hereby made into Chumas Maaser for the Maaser Rishon. Because you separate 10% as Maaser Rishon, and one of those 10% was now Chumas Maaser. But Maaser Sheni Befiv, and the Maaser Sheni for this wine is designated at the top of the cup. And is hereby redeemed unto the coins that is set aside for this purpose. He's not actually touching the coins; he just has them set aside. So having made this declaration both before and on Shabbos, the guest may drink what he is served, and as long as he leaves 1/100th of the wine, 1% at the bottom of the cup, is Chumas Maaser. Now, I mean, how does this work? Because like he doesn't want to insult his guest. He's making this declaration. Is he at the Shabbos table and he's saying this verbally out loud so that the host hears him? I don't know. That's kind of funny. I mean, is he saying it privately? If he's saying it privately, then it's not a declaration. It's like in his mind. Not sure. Mishnah Gimel. I really need a drink of water now, but it's a fast anyway, and I just not let it drink, so bear with me. Oh well, she'eno maimin the balabayas. Um, so a worker who was given reshus to eat from the dried figs that he is working on, but he does not. But he does not trust the employer to have been Maaser from them. So he does the following. So the worker has the right to eat during the shift. No tug rogris achas. He takes one dried fig and says, Zu v'tesha habos acharecha, this dried fig and the 9 that come after it, so a total of 10, asuyas Maaser al tishim shani ocha. Hereby made into Maaser Rishon for the other 90 figs that will eventually eat. He's not eating them all today, but he has a batch of 100 and he's giving 10. I mean, it was just easier math. You have like 96 or 112, then the math gets complicated. You take 100 and it's easier math. Zu Suya Chumas Maaser. They had this dried fig, that whole thing is hereby made into Chumas Maaser For the other 9 figs of Maaser Rishon, the Maaser Sheni B'Achrona. The Maaser Sheni for these figs is designated in the later figs in the next 9 figs. The Mechul Alamos, and is hereby redeemed unto the coins that have set aside for this purpose. The Choshech Grogeris Echas. And then he can start eating the figs. But he must refrain from eating one dry fig, one that he designated as Shemas Maaser, which must be given to a Kohen, and only 99 out of the 100. Because technically, you can eat Maaser Rishon and you can eat Maaser Sheni, you just need to decode it. The only one that you cannot eat is Shemas Maaser because he's not a Kohen. But Maaser Rishon, Maaser Sheni, and Maaser Arni, he can technically eat as long as he poded it beforehand. Wrapping up Mishnah Gimel, where Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, where Shimon ben Gamliel says, Lo yachshoch, lo yachshoch. He should not refrain from eating the full 100 figs. If nay, Shimon might, alachto shabalabais. Because if he eats less than the amount he's used to eating, he reduces the quality of work for his employer. Because he will not have as much strength to work as he should. Rather, he must find additional fig from the employer as a replacement for the one that was designated as Shemas Maaser. You can eat 100 figs. Yeah, it's interesting because who the heck can eat 100 figs in one sitting? I don't know. I guess when you're not eating all the steaks and potatoes and all the other things they have for lunch, maybe you can eat 100 figs for lunch. I don't know. Interesting. Rabbi Yossi says, "Lo yachshov." The worker does not have to refrain from eating 100 of his employee's figs. Mifnei shehu tonight, basically, because it's a condition of the court, meaning that the Chachamim had decreed that an employer must compensate the worker the Shemas Maaser that he separates from his share. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's the employer who must suffer the loss of the Shemas Maaser, and therefore the worker is allowed to take an additional fig from his employer to place the one he separated as Shemas Maaser. Very interesting. Okay, Mishnah Dalet. Halokeach yayin miben akusim. Omer, you're doing good on time. If someone now it's between Shkia and Seisach Chavim on Friday night. We know that time is called Ben Hashmashos. It's the time of Suffolk. So Chazal allowed you to be mafresh Maaser from Demai during the Suffolk period because Demai is a Suffolk, but we cannot do that with Tevel. Tevel it definitely was not Maaser. So what can we do with Tevel during this time? So if someone buys wine on Erev Shabbos from the Kusim, and he forgot to be mafresh Maaser from it before Shkia, Omer, he could do the following. Omer, Shnei, Lugin, Shani, Asu, the Hafrish. In a case where he bought 100 Lugin of wine, and he says, the 2 Lugin of wine that I will separate after Shabbos, already Hein Chuma, are hereby designated as Chuma as of now. He's physically separated after Shabbos, but it's designated now as Chuma. We just said before you couldn't designate it Shabbos. Apparently you can over here. Sarah Maaser, and 10 additional Lugan that was separate after Shabbos, hereby designated as Maaser Rishon. So you have 100, 2% goes to the Kohen for Truma, for Truma, right? And 10 go to Maaser Rishon, with Tisha Maaser Sheni, and then you have 90. You have 88 left. That's 2 and 10 is 12. So you have 88 left. The Tisha Maaser Sheni, and that makes 9 additional Lugan that will separate after Shabbos are designated as Maaser Sheni. So that is now being used down to 79. Machol, Mechel, V'shos. May then begin to drink the wine immediately, as long as he's careful to leave all the amounts designated as Truma and Maestros. Okay, Mishnah Hey. Continuing with Tevel, but doing Tevel before Shabbos. How you load to Enim shall Tevel b'sel Beisav. If he had 100 figs of Tevel inside his house. But for Erev Shabbos, he already finished. He was in the basement just studying, or he's still working in the field, and he's concerned he will not have enough time to return home to mice the figs before Shabbos. Omer, so he says, "Stay to Einim Shani Asu Arfish." The two figs that will separate after Shabbos, Hooray Hein Truma, are hereby designated as Truma. The Esther Maaser Rishon and the 10 additional figs are Maaser Rishon. The Seisha Maaser Sheni, and then 9 more are for Maaser Sheni. So again, he's having 2, 10, and 9. This is a total of 21. And it's the same thing as the last mission. We have to leave him over and make sure there's enough. But now that's regarding Tevel. If the figs are really Demai, which is more Makel, so how you Demai? If they were Demai, Omer Ma Shani Asi the Hafrish. He says that the one that I will separate after Shabbos, Arehu Maaser, is hereby designated as part of the Maaser Rishon. The Shar Maaser Samachlai, and the rest of the Maaser Rishon is designated next to it. 10 figs, or 10% of the pile, have now been designated as Maaser Rishon. Zeh Shesisi Maaser, also Chumas Maaser. Olav. That fig which I made into Maaser Rishon is hereby made into Chumas Maaser for the other 9 figs of Maaser Rishon. The Maaser Sheni is one over Damo, and the Maaser Sheni for these 100 figs is designated in the northern side of the pile or its southern side. And it's hereby redeemed unto the coins that I have set aside for this purpose. Okay, so he's being mafish everything as we discussed previously. Hayu lefana mishnavav. Hayu lefana shtei kalkala shel Now we're talking. The rest of this chapter is dealing with the designation of Maaser for Tevel produce. Okay, so this guy someone has in front of 2 baskets of Tevel. Amar Maaser Masus Zubazu. He said that the Maaser of the first basket are hereby designated in the second basket. Harishonim Seres, therefore the fruit in the first basket is Maaser. Since the fruit in both baskets is Tevel, designated fruit in the second basket, Truma and Maaser, the fruit in the first basket is effective. Because all the fruit in the first basket may not be eaten. Okay, that's an easy one. So Zuba, Zuba, so Zuba, Zuba. So now what if you said the Maaser of the first basket are designated in the second basket, and the Maaser of the second basket are designated in the first basket. So what do you do over here? Harishonim Musares. So only the fruit of the first basket is Maaser, but the fruit of the second basket remains Tevel. So as soon as he said that the fruit that the first basket is Maaser in the second basket, the fruit and the first basket became Maaser and mutter to eat. Since it's no longer Tevel, its fruit cannot be used as Maaser of the second basket because now you have a change of status. That doesn't work. So the first part of the declaration is good. The second part is not effective. The third case, Maaser saying Maaser is kalkala bechareta. You said that the Maaser of these 2 baskets, the Maaser of one basket hereby designated in the other basket. Karashem, he has designated the Maaser of one basket in the other, and he may separate the Maaser for both baskets from whichever basket he chooses. This is basically means that the Maaser one basket are hereby designated in whichever basket I will choose. Okay, 2 more Mishnahs to go. Mea Mishnah Zion is a little bit of a longer one, a little bit complicated, but okay, we'll do it. So now we're going to talk about three cases in which the produce is either Tevel, Maaser Rishon, or Chulin became mixed with one of the others in equal amounts. How do you fix this? Before we go into them, the basic rule is that you need to divide the mixture into two equal parts and then treat the first half as a stricter of the two components in the mixture and the second half as the other component. However, since even the second half will in reality contain some of the stricter component, a further adjustment is needed to that half to permit it to be used. These formulas are therefore all in the form of take out half plus a certain amount extra for the other half. Oh boy, it's gonna be a long day. Okay, the first case. The first case is the equal mixture of Tevel and Chulin. Mea Tevel, Mea Chulin. There's 100 measures of Tevel became mixed with 100 measures of Chulin. Say, for example, take 100 lugin of wine, a Tevel wine fell into 100 lugin of Chulin wine. And so how do you mafresh the Tevel in the mixture? Nota Me'av. It takes out from the mixture 100 lugin of pizza. Oh. And he takes out one log of from the other 100 in order to emit that 100 as well. The 100 he removes the tree as Tevel, he meisers as he would any Tevel. So he takes out 10 lugin as meiser Rishon, gives it to Levi, and 9 meiser Sheni, there's a total of 90 lugin in the first half are not permitted for use. He must do something similar to fix the other 100 lugin, since these also contain Tevel. So he designates 100, designates 10 of them as Maaser Rishon, and then takes out one of the 10 as Shumas Maaser. That's the extra one log mentioned above. The rest of the Maaser Rishon keeps for himself. He may now drink these 99 lugin as well. As a result of the entire process, he ends up being able to use 189 of the 200 lugin in the mixture, just one log less than he would have been able to use had he meistered the Tevel before it became mixture. So it's not such a loss, but it's a little bit. Meir Tevel, Meir Maaser. Now, the second case, you have Tevel and Maaser Rishon. Before we had Tevel and Chulin. Now we have Tevel and Maaser Rishon. Meir Tevel, Meir Maaser. There's 100 lugin of Tevel and 100 lugin of Maaser Rishon. Nota Meir V'Echad. He takes 101 again, 100 for the Tevel and then one for the other 100. However, the same situation as before. However, the other 100 lugin, which he treats as Maaser Rishon, also contain Tevel. So he fixes this by separating one log as Chumas Maaser, as he did previously. This resolves the Tevel issue. The other 99 lugin, he treats as Maaser Rishon. He therefore separates from them another 9.9 lugin, 1/10 of 99, as Chumas Maaser, and gives the rest to a Levi. As a result of this process, they can only ends up with 11.9 lugin of Chumas Maaser, and the owner loses only 9% of a log because of the mix. The third case, which is equal mixture of Chulin and Maaser Rishon. Meir Chulin Musukan and Meir Maaser. If you have 100 lugin of fixed Chulin, Chulin that was I already finished all the Maasers and everything was already done. It became mixed with 100 lugin of Maaser Rishon, which Chumas Maaser has not yet been separated. Notel Me'av Eser. He takes out 100 lugin and Shishtam as Maaser Rishon. He also takes out 10 lugin from the other 100. The 100 lugin that he treats as Maaser Rishon, he Maasers as he would any Maaser Rishon. So he's marfish 10 lugin for Chumas Maaser, gives it to a Kohen. However, the 100 lugin he said he treats as chulin also contains Maaser Rishon. He must therefore also separate from them 10 lugin for Chumas Maaser. As a result of the entire process, 20 lugin became Chumas Maaser and are given to a Kohen. 90 lugin are given to a Levi as Maaser Rishon, and the owner keeps 90 lugin for himself. The owner ends up losing 10 lugin over here, which is more than he lost beforehand. And then the last case, the fourth case, Tevel and Maaser Rishon. So again, the first case was Tevel and Chulin. Second case was Tevel and Maaser Rishon. And then the third case is Chulin and Maaser Rishon. And now the fourth case is Tevel and Maaser Rishon. So we're going of unequal amounts. Okay, the first three were of equal amounts. Now we have Tevel and Maaser Rishon of unequal amounts. So let's see what happens now. Because we already discussed Tevel and Maaser Rishon before, but that was for equal amounts. Now it's unequal. So now, Mea Tevel Tishim Maaser. If he has 100 lugin of Tevel, you can mix 90 lugin of Maaser Rishon. Tishim Tevel Shmonim Maaser. Or if 90 lugin of Tevel became mixed 80 lugin of Maaser Rishon. Lo Hefsek Klum. The owner has lost nothing. He does not have to be mafresh any more Maaser than he would have had to separate had the Tevel and Maaser not become mixed. Since in both of these cases there are at least 10 more lugin of Tevel than Maaser Rishon, one can separate the Chumas Maaser from the extra Tevel and avoid any loss. Ze'aklal kol zman she'Tevel meruba. As long as the Tevel in the mixture is more than the Maaser Rishon by at least 10 lugin, and the owner has not lost anything. And let's go on with Mishnah Ches, the last one in Demai, the last Mishnah of Demai. Okay, Misha Hayu Lo Eser Shuros Es Shel Eser Kadayai. Someone has 10 rows of 10 barrels of wine each. It's like a wine cellar, 10 by 10 rows. 100 barrels of wine standing in a square. So this is probably like where they came up with 100 barrels of beer, the wine on the wall. 10 barrels wide, 10 barrels long. And he said, in the outer row of 100 barrels, I designated one barrel as Maaser Rishon, the one I have somewhere else. And you'll do it easily. But it's not known which outer row it was. He forgot which of the 4 outer rows he had specified. So what does it do? No, you take 2 corner barrels that are diagonally across from each other, pour the wine in them into one larger barrel and designate as Maaser Rishon. Since each corner barrel is part of 2 rows, 2 corner barrels that are diagonally across from each other represent all 4 outer rows. Thus, whichever row he originally designated is now represented by these 2 barrels. The second case, if you said in half of the outer row of these 100 barrels, I designated 1 barrel as Maaser Rishon for wine I have elsewhere. Then you do it easily, but it's not known which half or row it was. You forgot which of the 8 outer half rows he specified. No tell arba zaviyos. You should take 4 barrels, 1 from each of the 4 corners, pour the wine into them in one larger barrel, and designate it as Maaser Rishon. Since each corner is part of 2 half rows, these 4 barrels represent all 8 half rows. Thus, whichever half row he originally designated is now represented by these 4 barrels. Hope you're getting all this. It's a lot, and time is short. So, the chaz this later. And the third case, Shura Achas Maaser. If he said in one row of these 100 barrels, I designated one barrel as my rishon for wine I have elsewhere. And Yadua Ezahi. But it's not known which row it was. No tel Shura Achas Luchsan. He should take one diagonal row of barrels, pour them into one larger barrel, designated as my rishon, since a diagonal row of barrels contains one barrel from each row. Whichever row he originally designated is now represented by these 10 barrels. The fourth case, Chatzi Shua Achas Maaser. He said in one half row of these 100 barrels, I designated one barrel as Maaser Rishon for wine elsewhere. Then Yodua Ezohi. It was not known which half row it was. Notos de Shuros Wilson. He should take two diagonal rows of barrels, pour them into one large container designated as Maaser Rishon. Since two diagonal rows of barrels contain one barrel for each row, whichever half row he originally designated is now represented in these 20 barrels. In the last case, Chavis Achas Maaser, if instead of saying designated in one of the rows, he said in one of these barrels, a designated Maaser Rishon for wine I have elsewhere, and Yadua Ezahi, but it's not known which of the 100 barrels it was. No, Tommy called Chavis. He should take the amount needed from Chumas Maaser from each of the 100 barrels, pour all them into one large container, designate that as Chumas Maaser, which is a lot of wine. Hydron Alach, Shnai Amaseches Demai, and we will see you tomorrow as we start Kilayim at 9 a.m. Have a wonderful day.